for summer. We are going to go through a checklist. We have, hopefully you picked one up in the back. And put it up here on the screen also. These are the people who are mostly represented. I am from Apache Junction Public Library. I'm an educator of life skills and emerging technologies. That's my title. These other colleagues of mine have amazing titles that are very difficult to remember, but I'll do my best. We have Serene here. She's from Police Department. She's this person here. She's going to talk also. She is Community Resource Coordinator, right? Okay. And then Gerola, I think a lot of you've already met from the Superstition
Fire Medical District.
Okay. And she is Fire and Life Safety Specialist. So we all realize that we have things that we like to give advice about for when you're closing up and when you're leaving property. We want you to come back and the property still be there and not be broken into or burned up or anything like that. So we thought we'd make a checklist for people, and we decided to tape it just so we would have it for other people who might want to ask questions later. Since we have 3 people here, mostly these 2, but I got involved because I thought they had some great ideas, so I synthesized all their ideas and put them into a checklist. So that's my part. And I have the first little things that I can talk about. So we're just going to go through the checklist. If anybody wants a pencil or anything you want to take notes on, just let me know. Got a pencil? I got pencils and I got clipboards. So any of that stuff, if you wanted, it's up here. So I started out by talking about the most exciting topic, which is printer ink. So that's the first thing on there. If you use a printer that's not laser, the other kind that has the liquid stuff in it, well, I guess just the best advice is it's more than likely going to be dry when you come back. So there are some tips that you can do to try to keep it alive and not clogged up your printer jets and all that. I've got some really detailed suggestions for how to do that whole process that you're welcome to have a sheet on that. But that's no guarantee it's going to work in the heat. So the really best advice is to let somebody have your printer while you're gone and ask them to use it. That's the best thing to do. Just keep it in motion, or take it with you. So those are your printer ink suggestions. It's kind of hard to guarantee it's going to be okay when you get back. I do suggest if you're leaving a computer that you do need to keep some electricity going. You need to keep some air conditioning in your building, in your facility, because if it gets over 85, you could fry things. So I don't know if anybody's leaving computers, but if you are, I suggest you have some sort of air conditioning running. Return your library materials before you leave so you don't get a bad mark with the Apache Junction Library. And get your library card up to date. You can do that before you leave, and it's good for a whole year. So if you want to be able to get online to our Kindle books or any of our ebooks or our electronic digital resources, you'll want to have your card active so that you can do that. So do that before you go. We're going through the checklist pretty fast. This is just a fraud or security type thing. Don't say on Facebook that I'm leaving now, especially if you're not comfortable with everybody who's in contact with you. It's not a good idea really to ever say that you're out of town or something like that on Facebook as your status. So just avoid doing that. Even on your voice machine, I read that in one of the articles, don't say, we're gone now, because you're really advertising. Somebody just luckily hits on that, they could find out, they could link it all together, and you could have a problem, a situation that might lead to the police department getting involved. So, police department is next, and she's going to talk about landscaping first.
Hello. So some of the things that we cover are basically ways that you can layer on protection as you leave and go back to your other residence. Because it's really important that you don't create a target out of yourself or your neighbors. Because a lot of times when people start shutting down their property for the summer, they think they're doing it to save electricity, to save their carpets, their drapes, their tires, whatever it is they're leaving behind. So they're creating systems to try to conserve or save those things. In the meantime, you're telling everybody nobody's here. So a lot of times people put tin foil up in their windows. You don't want to do that because, again, it kind of pulls down the look of the area, but also it tells people what's going on, why is nobody there, why is there tin foil in the windows. You put up the bumper guards. A lot of times people will do that, or things in the driveway so people won't park in your driveway while you're gone. Another way to tell people, hey, nobody's going to be here for a while. Or when we go, like we put landscaping on here, if your landscaping starts becoming overgrown and bushy and your place looks uninhabited, people are going to think, this is a place I can camp out. We've heard it happen before where a property is empty for the summer, and people will literally move into that property and use it as a home base. Whether it's just because they don't have any other place to live, or because they're using it as a home base for crime. So they'll stay there because they know that it's uninhabited, and they'll watch for the people's properties who somebody is staying there, and when they leave to go grocery shopping or leave to go somewhere, they'll hop over, do some stuff, commit some crimes, hop back over to the empty residence, and nobody will know the difference because they can be very quick. So by keeping your landscaping trimmed, and this really does come down to cooperating with your other neighbors, the neighbors that are staying here. I don't know if there's a service, I was just thinking this weekend that maybe I'll start my own company. We'll go in and we'll take care of people's properties while they're gone. I don't know if there is a service like that. Okay, great. It might be worth that investment. A lot of times when I go to big groups and I talk to people, they say, I don't want to pay the money to keep my electricity running or whatever the case is. And I do understand that. If you're living in two separate properties, that's a lot of maintenance costs. But it's a gamble. You know, I don't know how many of you guys like to gamble, but I'm pretty sure you don't want to gamble with your property or your safety or somebody else's safety. So you have to make those calls. Are you going to pay to have somebody maintain that? Are you going to just work something out with your neighbors? Tell you what, you maintain my property for the 3-4 months I'm gone, I'll come back, maintain your property for a couple of months. Whatever you want to do, if somebody can come over there and just make sure things are swept up, any mail, newspapers, whatever that's gathered and cleaned up, and just keep an eye out. Because let's say you know your neighbors take a walk every morning with their dog and your screen door has been shut. Well, one morning they go by and now the screen door is open. That's going to look a little bit different. Why is the screen door open all of a sudden? You know, so it might be that neighbor just kind of taking a walk around, and if need be, call the police department. They can call our non-emergency number and say, something's a little bit different, would you mind just sending somebody over to take a look and make sure everything looks okay? It's really important to do that, so it's good to form relationships with your neighbors and people that are staying here so that they can keep an eye out for your property. So with the landscaping, again, you want to do something so that that landscaping looks maintained and it looks like somebody's paying attention to it. Also, it's really important, and this is whether you're here or not here, bushes you want to keep down to the 2 to 3 feet mark. Trees you want to keep up 6 to 7 feet, because that way it makes it harder for somebody to use it as a screen to hide it. So you kind of want to pay attention to that 3-foot, 7-foot roll is what we call that. Also, you want to pull anything away from walls, whether it's chairs, blocks, tables, whatever the case is, because that just makes it that much easier to use it to climb over or land on as they're coming back. So if you have any of those things now, just pull them away from the fence lines before you go. Locks, if you have them, use them. A lot of times, again, people want to live in a very utopic world and they don't want to have to use locks, but you know that's a reality is that you need to use them. So you want to make sure all your windows are locked down, all your doors are locked down, that your tool sheds, any kind of outbuildings are also locked down. A lot of times we'll get calls because maybe there's a rash of burglaries in a particular neighborhood, but we drive through it at night to kind of scope it out and see what's going on. Garage doors are open all over the place. You know, so don't make it easy for somebody to get in and break in. And there's different kinds of locks, so depending on what kind of property you have and what kind of property you're leaving behind. Obviously the deadbolts and stuff are great for, you know, solid doors. If that's not the type of property the door you have, there's other types of things, you know, latches and screw-in bolts and stuff that you can use just to make it that much harder. Because a lot of times people are looking for crimes of opportunity, things that they can do really, really quickly. So the harder you make it and the longer it takes them to break into that property, the less likely it is that you're going to be a target. They'll move on to somebody else. And don't leave spare keys out. You know, whether you want to leave it for a neighbor in case they need to get in or something like that. Find a trusted neighbor and give it to them. Don't leave it, you know, magnetically under something. Go ahead and tuck it away somewhere. Give it to somebody to watch out for it. Lights. And a lot of times this is a point of contention with people because, again, they want to shut their electricity down and they don't want lights up. Put motion detectors up. Get solar lights. Go down to the hardware store, go down to Home Depot, one of those places, and talk to them and say, if I'm going to be away from my home for an extended period of time, what's the best lighting system to put up that costs me the least amount of money, the most efficient way? And you want to do that inside and outside. Have some kind of system where on some sort of a regular basis lights are coming on and off so that it gives the appearance of somebody being there. And so there are different timers that you can get, low cost, low efficiency light bulbs, things like that that you can put into your property so that it will not cost you as much to maintain, but it's still giving that appearance that somebody is occupying that residence. And And you do want to secure all your locker box or your breaker boxes and electrical boxes and stuff like that. You don't want those getting shut down. You don't want copper or whatever it is they steal out of those things. So try to make sure that all of those things are locked down and secured as well. And overall looks, you know, there's something we utilize a lot, and these are all concepts of what we call SEPTED, which stands for Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design. And the goal of what we call SEPTED is not to make your place look like Fort Knox with, you know, tall brick, you know, barbed wire and everything like that, because that doesn't look good. That's not a place you want to live. But to increase the security of your property while still maintaining a nice look, a nice livable look. So just the general appearance of your property, you want it to look like somebody lives there, somebody cares about what's going on, and again, that's where you're paying for somebody to come and maintain it, or working an arrangement out with the neighbors that are staying behind to sweep it up, clear it up, do a little pickup, and just keep an eye out on your property. Again, have papers, have mail stopped. You can go down to the post office and have them stop or redirect your mail while you're gone. That way you don't have mail piling up. Have it regularly closed of debris. And you can have, again, have that neighbor that you trust, you know, opening and closing your drapes, because if you want to preserve your carpet, a lot of times that's why people put things up in there to decrease the heat and to preserve carpets, drapes, things like that. That's okay, but maybe, again, ask that neighbor to go in and maybe close it occasionally, open it back up. Again, you're giving the appearance that somebody lives there. Vehicles, don't leave the car keys in your house unless you have some kind of locked safe that's bolted down or something like that. Again, that's where you want to work out with a neighbor or somebody in town, maybe have other relatives here, to keep all of those items for you. Because if they find car keys, if they're rummaging through things and they find car keys, why wouldn't they take it for a little joyride? It's a free ride. Use anti-theft devices, the plug, kill switch, things like that. Put them in your vehicle. Again, it's just going to make it a little bit harder for them and less likely that they're going to take the time to try to get through those things. Self-locking bolts on your license plate. A lot of times I've gone to meetings like this and they talk about, oh, should I take my license plate off? Should I not take my license plate off? You can get self-locking and self-tapping bolts that you put on there. Don't ask me a lot about them. I'm not an expert on them. But you can go to, again, some hardware stores or Home Depot, something like that, and you can get those bolts. That way they can't get them off of there. You don't want to leave a lot of important documents in your car. If you need to leave your registration and your insurance, that's fine. But you don't want to have, you know, things with all of your addresses and bank account, stuff like that in there. The less information they can gather from what's in there, the better. And don't cover up your cars. Again, I know you want to preserve it if you're leaving a vehicle here. But again, that's a gamble. You know, do you, don't you, that's entirely up to you, but that's just another way to kind of advertise that nobody's using this car. I'll let you read through it. The couple of things that I brought with me when it comes to cars is the Watch Your Car program. So if you have a vehicle registered here in the state of Arizona, you can apply for this program for free. You just fill out the back of this pamphlet here, or you go online and you complete it, and they send you a little sticker that looks a lot like this, but it's blue and it has little eyeballs for tires. And you put that in your window, and what that does is, thank you, Tina.
You're welcome, that's okay.
Is it, if that car is out driving between 1 and 5 a.m., it alerts police to pull it over. And it gives them that probable cause that they need just for sheerly having that sticker on it and being out between those hours to pull the car over and make sure that the person driving it is supposed to be driving it. And you can do that all year round. Huh?
And then I'll give it DUI.
That's up to you. I do always throw out the warning. I do always throw out the warning that, don't get this sticker and put it on your window and then purposely go driving. Unless you're feeling very lonely. You want to meet some of our nice officers, then go ahead. But that's just one of those layers of protection that you can put on your vehicle. It's a free program. You might as well do it. With it comes this little magnet here where you put all of your important vehicle information, and then you can put it on your fridge because it's a magnet. That way, if for some reason your car is stolen, or if you just need your vehicle information and you want to go digging through your glove box, it's all right here for you. So some of those are back there. Bikes and golf carts. Do any of you guys have golf carts? All right, we'll skip that. We do have the bike registration through the PD, so if you do have bicycles, register with the PD. So you want to get one of these and you want to fill it out for every bike that you have. And when you turn it in, you'll get a little sticker sent to you with a number that you can either put on the bike or etch on the bike somewhere. That way, if that vehicle is, or that bike is stolen, we know who to give it back to. There's bikes stolen all over the time, or all of the time. If you ever go down to, I think it's Signal Butte, there's, and like Superstition, there's a guy in the corner there that sells bikes. I'm always curious where he gets his bikes. Anyway, so bikes are stolen all the time, and we recover them all the time, but we don't always know who to give them back to. So we have a whole lot full of bikes that just sit there, and if they sit there too long, every now and then high school comes and scoops them up. So you could be donating to a great program unknowingly, but fill one out for every bike that you have and turn it in. Also, make an inventory. This is really important because we've gone to communities before that have had rashes of burglaries, and most often during the summer months when nobody's there. And they're like, oh, you know, $500 of this and whatever, like their valuables were stolen from them. And they're like, oh, it's a gold necklace. Well, you know, who knows what that looks like. So it's really important, take pictures. If it's something that you want back, take a picture of it, write it down. Because we do have people, we actually have volunteers that regularly go through pawn slips and stuff like that. And if they have a picture and detailed description of it, then they can match it up. We work really closely with our pawn shops so that we can hopefully try to get that item back for you. So just sit down one day, get it, either a disposable camera, digital camera, whatever it is you have, and take pictures and then sit there and document. Because that will be the quickest and easiest way to get back those things that are important to you. I think the next set is Tina. Yeah, so I have a more detailed list back there for preparing for summer that really goes into detail about the things you should do. And a lot of these are concepts you can use year-round, but especially when you go for summer, you want to make sure that, again, you don't make yourself a target or your neighbors a target. So,
I have a question.
yes, ma'am?
What is manually lock your garage door from the inside? How do you do that? Disengage your electronic source?
Turn your switch off.
Yeah, so once it closes,
You usually got bolts on the side you can put.
right, you
slide
can just
out.
unplug it, and
Locks.
sometimes it has a key lock, a bolt, something like that, because those things come open all the time. So, yeah. Yes, sir.
How much security do you have in a gated community? How much do you rely on the gated community?
Solely
Like rock-
because of the gate?
Like Rock Shadows?
Yeah.
Again, it might make it a little less, you know, because then they can zoom in, zoom out real quick, but it's only as good as the people guarding the gate. And even then, you know, we've all done it. We've all gone into a gated community before and either followed somebody in, hey, now I have to punch the code in, or followed somebody out, or let somebody come in. So unless you have somebody who's really diligent and they're coming in by car, you know, people are going to get in and out. That's just the reality of it. So you can't assume that a gated community alone is going to deter people from committing crimes. It might slow it down. It might, again, make those people who would normally creep through neighborhoods and look for things, it might decrease a little bit of that, but it's not going to stop the people on foot because they can get into it. Again, unless you have Fort Knox, you know, with all kinds of lasers and stuff, people are going to get into it. So it might not be as opportunistic as a community that doesn't have gates, but you shouldn't solely rely on a
Because
gate.
I know you said like don't put the silver lock stuff up in your windows. Well, in the park, what, 90% of them?
We all do.
We all do it.
And again, you know, that's a reality. It's people do it sometimes whether they're there or not there. Sometimes people do it just because they need something to stop this heat. But do some research. You know, find out, is there something else I can do to not make it look like nobody's home, to get the thing I'm looking for, decreasing the heat, whatever the case is, but not make a target. It's a gamble. You know, again, you have people who say, well, I don't want to pay the, you know, to keep the post or whatever, the electrical post thing. You know, I don't want to pay to keep that maintained. That's $17, $18, whatever dollars a month that, you know, I need to be saving. That's your call. That's your call. But then you have to understand down the line if because of the 5, you know, properties that were there, you know, yours was the only one that was dark, weeds were growing, you know, things are piling up, you've got tinfoil in your window, and yours was broken into, you can't be shocked. And you can't be shocked at that. So, all right, any other questions? You can ask me after.
Yeah, could go on and on.
I learned something. Hi, everybody.
Hello?
Okay, so for us, these are things that can really help us, and your home as well. So the first thing on there is clear and remove all weeds and brush within 10 feet of your home. We'd like that done anyways on a year-round basis, especially if you live up towards the mountain, or if you're lucky enough to have friends and stuff, you know, that actually live around desert areas. We really like that. We're a very dry state, and we're in the mountains and we're in the desert, and that stuff catches on fire. But if you have at least the 10-foot breach, now I understand some of your homes are really, really close, but anything you can do to really make sure that all the weeds and stuff are gone, removed from your sites, helps, okay? You don't want the smoker to go by, or the monsoon weather, or whatever storms to come in and start a fire that way. What's that?
Haboobs?
The haboobs, which leads to the next ones, because haboobs do come through. We ask you to unplug all appliances in your home, all the small appliances and the large one, including your television and your refrigerator. If you keep food in there 6 months, I don't know, but we'd like you to unplug everything. Okay, the first thing we do in a fire is secure utilities. It's kind of nice that we don't have to. Okay? Questions on, I see some people are thinking, why do we have to do that? Okay. Gas cans used for any golf carts or small tools, leave them empty. Okay? Anything that is going to pose a hazard to us in case something does happen in your home. You can do that for us, leave them empty. I kind of hit on this earlier, change your smoke alarm batteries. If you have smoke alarm batteries, even if they're hardwired. If they're hardwired with the battery backup, and they have a battery in them, please change them before you leave, so that your neighbor isn't dealing with the alarm going off, because as soon as the battery needs attention, it'll start going off, and your neighbor will hear it, because you're very close to each other. Okay? And leave yourself a note on the table, so when you come back, you put fresh ones back in as well, so that way you're set for both times a year. Okay? I know there was some little talk about this. Our advice is to contact your service providers and stop utility services if you can. Okay? Especially like gas, natural gas. And make sure that your contact information is left with somebody here. It's very important to have that emergency contact. It's very hard when we have to go to a home that has caught fire and the owner is nowhere to be found. Okay? It's very hard for us. So, I think everything else is really covered and it's pretty basic. But for fire, that's what we ask. Any questions?
What do you do with gas cans? I mean, do you still have
Just
gas?
put
when
them-
you empty it?
Yeah, just put them in your car or something, you know.
How about propane tanks?
Propane tanks, they're okay, you know, they have a pressure valve. If they're good ones, which, you know, you should only be using authorized one, they have pressure valves on them, so when the heat heats up, it does release pressure.
Great.
Okay, don't fill them before you leave, but whatever you can do.
Gas is cheaper now.
Walk around, it is, slowly hiking up, isn't it? Just walk around your house and take out the hazards. Make sure that your electrical outlets, they have the cover. Okay, the covers aren't broken, and the inside. Just walk around your home always, anyway, year round.
Yeah.
Walk around your home, make sure that your cords aren't frayed. Okay? Remember, you guys hang on to everything for a long time.
Not all of us are hoarders, not all of us.
Any other questions?
I have a question on the checklist. Pour half cup of chlorine bleach into the
Okay.
toilet bowl.
Let's make
Not
some
sure
notes.
why.
Okay.
I'll do that. Okay, so the rest of the list
Oh, okay.
came from Yao, our public works director, who doesn't like to talk to her. I just can't,
Okay.
sorry Yao, but that's the story. So he sent me an article and sent me a lot of ideas. So that's what the rest of this is. I just put it on the list so I can tell you what he says. So we're starting with contact information. He suggests also having your plumber, your electrician, all of that information, not just about how to get in touch with you, but who you want to take care of your stuff. So if you already have a plumber that knows your stuff, so we'll start with that. Of course, you should check for water leaks before you leave the house, make sure nothing's leaking, just so you know how to just check, make sure it's not wet. As far as water goes, suggest is to turn off the water at the main shutoff valve, and you can do that as long as you're not leaving your refrigerator running. If you're leaving your refrigerator running, it's needing to make ice, then you got some situations there. But you can turn off the ice maker, turn off the water at the main valve, then you're safe with all that. All right, so pour half the chlorine bleach to the toilet bowl. Apparently, over time, bacteria builds up in toilet bowls and it will stain your toilet. So it's a good idea to.
Okay.
That's one of the
Because
suggestions.
I notice there's black when I come back.
Right,
so,
the black.
okay.
So if you start with bleach when you leave, it's supposed to help reduce that. He suggests run your disposer so you don't leave any food in your garbage disposal, and pour some vinegar down there with a cup of water, so that's supposed to keep that fresh. Put your hot water heater on vacation setting, so that's a good, instead of turning it completely off, there should be a setting on there so it's not running as hot. So you can have that as an option, and then you should completely run it out and flush it when returned, so use all the water and do it at the end. I think we already talked about in your newspaper and your mail. If you have a security company, you should definitely let them know you're leaving. And I'm just gonna add, oh yeah, eat all your food, give your food away.
Take it.
That was one thing he definitely doesn't want. The neighbor list, I mean, if you think about how many things we've left to a neighbor, I mean, we basically told them, you want your neighbor to switch your blinds, you want your neighbor, it's a good idea if your neighbor will put a garbage can in front of your house from time to time. Good if they'll turn on your TV and radio, switch that out. Drive your vehicle if you don't want to keep it, they can drive it. They can also have your computer and your printer, they can do all those, you're supposed to flush their toilets. So anyway, your checklist for your neighbors is just about as long as your So you have a lot to take care of for them. I have one other special visitor, Judy Lutes is here. She's from the Winter Visitors Association, and she used to do insurance claims, so she has heard of a lot of things that will be helpful for us as far as things that are still lingering. So Judy, tell us
Good
about
afternoon.
things we left off.
Yes, I'm the president of the Arizona Winter Visitors Association, and I have been to Rock Shadows and spoke already. Not on this, but on Winter Visitors, and we're hoping you'll all come and join us. A lot of the things that I was going to talk about, they've mentioned, but I got a few more. I came down here from North Dakota. My husband had cancer and he passed away. I decided to stay. I opened up an insurance office. I used to dread October and November. Dreaded it. My phone rang constantly. Claims, claims, claims. So I learned a lot about what to do and what not to do. The newspapers, the chain, all that. Put your services on hold, do your mail 10 days before. But the one thing I want to emphasize, I don't know how many people leave credit cards here. Don't leave them here. Don't leave cash here. They do it. Don't leave jewelry here. I had one guy that left $70,000 worth of turquoise jewelry. Unless you have a special insurance policy for that, you're only covered for $1,000. I don't know why you want to leave it here, but they do. And they still do. I still talk to people, well, I leave my credit cards that I use down here. Take them home, put them in your bill. I have one guy from Canada told me, his wife told me the other day, she's a volunteer with us, they have 2 billfolds. One for Canadian and one for down here, but they take them with them wherever they go.
Yeah.
They don't leave them any place. But because they use certain things down here that they don't use at home. So, but please do not leave that valuable. I don't care if you got a safe. They took safes, they did everything. And as far as people living in the homes, had many claims for it. They just moved right in. You wouldn't believe what those places look like when they got done. They cook and leave everything low. I've seen cigarette burns on the wall, part of the house, everything. You're talking about leaving aluminum on your windows. Please don't. Don't do the styrofoam. Please, it's a dead giveaway. When they climb over that wall, that's the first house they're going to go for. Because that's what happens when you come over, is over the walls. They don't just drive in. They go over those walls. And I know I drive by 2 or 3 of them all summer long. This makes me cringe. They're right along the street where you can see them. They got the styrofoam in the window. I'm going, you're going to get it again. You're going to get it again. I wanna just go over there when they come down and say something, but I don't dare. So, turn off your water. I don't know how many park miles especially I have had that the water is flowing out of it. Some people come back, they've had mold to the ceilings. Right now, insurance companies will not cover mold. They've cut it off completely. They used to when I was an agent. They won't no more. It got out of hand. Well, the thing was wrecked, so you can imagine it was a total replacement. If you have to have water for somebody to use it outside, you can go to Home Depot. There's a little gadget, tell them what you want, that you want to make sure they can't turn the water on inside, only for outside for water plants, if you got somebody to water plants. I go to the mountains in the summer and I don't water plants, and they all come back. I just leave them alone, they come back. And anyhow, it helps a little bit to have that foliage down as far as I'm concerned because of the fires. The fires are really bad in the summertime. I mean, I pray every time when I go to the mountains that somebody, we came back last summer, it was so bad because the wind was so bad, people were shooting guns, they were lighting campfires, and there was none of it allowed. It was so dry. I said, we're getting out of here before we're dead. And we came back until it rained enough so we could go back. That's how bad it gets. Ceiling fans, a lot of people forget them, but if you turn your electricity off, of course that'll go. Some people leave the electricity on. I have had people leave food in the refrigerator, but they turn their AC off. Well, it gets so warm in there, the circuit breaker goes, and that refrigerator, all that stuff in there, and then the freezer spoils. If you don't know what to do with food, you don't have a neighbor to give it to, we got an Apache Junction food bank that's begging for food. Take it down there before you leave. They love you for it, because we're hurting. They say turn hot water heater to a dial. I've always said turn it off, but maybe this is something new that I didn't know about. I've always.
If your electricity's off, there's no sense of
Yeah,
leaving
because
anything.
we have electric ones, right, so they go off anyway.
Yeah.
But some people say to drain them, some people say to not drain them, so it's a little confusing.
I would drain it, because you're gonna have bacteria grow up.
Well, that's what I think too.
Yeah, I was doing that.
No, you leave them.
Leave your refrigerator door open.
Yeah.
Toilets. I've always been taught to put plastic seals on top of it.
Saran wrap, yeah.
Yes, ceramic. Another thing for water. A lot of people use tubs. They put tubs of water around the house. Well, I've had some problems with people saying it broke. Fill your bathtub up with water. When you come back, there ain't gonna be any left. It'll be gone. That's what most people do.
It's just to make humidity in the air.
Because if you got wood furniture in there, it dries out. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Another thing that people do is they put vegetable oil in their disposals. Don't do it. Roaches, bugs,
Ooh.
please don't do it. A lot of people do it. And I've even seen it online to do it. And don't do it. Golf carts, take your batteries out. Cars, we take the batteries out too, I've always been told. Close your blinds, that's all. That'll take out just about as much heat as that aluminum foil will. I think that aluminum foil traps it. Take pictures. That was one thing when somebody gets broke into, they never know what they had in there. Take pictures, just go through and take it so you know you got what's in there, because they didn't know what to claim. And when you come back, a lot of people come back, they throw a load of clothes in, they leave and go to the grocery store. Don't leave. That wash machine's rubbers could be rotted from the summer, and I don't know how many floods I've had from that. So, that's a lot of things. They rot during the summer. You don't use them. So you want to make sure you maybe want to run your dishwasher while you're there even, because it could flood all over. And I think most of this other stuff they covered for me. So, is there any questions? Or?
Do you recommend the antifreeze in the drain?
I've heard that they do it. I don't know what it does for it.
I've put it in and it's been fine, so.
I don't know what it does for it.
Keeps the water from evaporating supposedly.
The only thing I had with antifreeze, we got a fifth wheel, and I put antifreeze in that, I'll never do it again, because you gotta run your water forever and
Yeah.
ever and ever and ever, because you got that taste, that's why I would never do it. So, that taste stays in there, you gotta run water a long time.
But this is just in the drains, we put them in the drains.
Yeah, we did too, you still have the taste.
Do you think it's a good idea to, like, put your air conditioner on like 90, 95 to come on when you're not there?
You can if you want to, but most people don't, they don't leave their
Electricity.
They shut off
Yeah.
their electric.
It would be nice if you have a computer and that there, but most people don't want to pay for it. And your ink is gonna be gone, yes. Your computer, I don't know what, most people take them back and forth now. They don't leave them. So,
You know, I just have to add that everybody thinks because you live in a secured, well, none of us do, but because you have security and you're gated, trust me, you guys are probably the most likely victims. One, because you have really nice stuff.
Yep.
Because of where you are in life. This is the mind frame. Two, they can run a lot faster than you. And they can run faster than anybody else who lives in your neighborhood. Three, you're winter visitors and you're gone.
And they know that.
And you are a target. The guard sitting at the front is not gonna stop the young man from climbing over your gate.
And we don't actually have a physical gate. No, we just
From
have a
fries
bar.
or your
over the
wall,
walls.
or your
Yeah.
wall. So
That's how
everything
most
they're
of them got
saying,
in.
remember the 911, well, I don't know, if I told you, do what they're saying, because we know, we're the ones here, especially PD.
I can tell you what
They
it
deal with
is.
the crime, they know what the crime is, they see it, they live it.
I can tell you
Take
one
what
crime that
you-
happened when the winter visitors were here. They had somebody that moved in with an RV. They had bingo nights. It was at Valley Del Oro.
Mm.
And they watched who all went to bingo. And one night they hit everyone.
Oh, yeah.
And then they were gone.
That's why.
And then you have to remember, I love when you all have your yard sales, I love that. But what a time to scope out.
Yep.
What you
What a
have.
time
They
to
pay
know.
a shell.
And what, not saying don't have them, but take everything that is on this list, do it before you leave.
Yeah.
Do it before you leave. It's good
One of
advice.
the other things too that I hear a lot is that, I don't have anything valuable for them to steal, but your identity is one of the most valuable things that they can steal, because then they can go out and get credit cards and all the things to buy whatever they want. And I always joke that half the time they live a lot more interesting lives than we are.
Yeah.
Because they're out taking trips and buying,
One
electronics.
piece of information, they can get it.
Yeah,
So
so
I'm a
make sure.
Canadian, so they could be doing it in the US and I would not be the wiser, right?
Exactly, so you wanna kind of do a quick sweep and make sure that all of that identifying documents are either locked in a bolted down safe, or take it with you.
Who leaves 70,000, where is this at? Who has $70,000 to leave?
He made it.
Yeah, we have,
He cried. I said,
we go into
"Nothing I can
fires
do."
and we find stuff and we're like, they left this? Really? Wow.
I had a guy that brought knives down to sell. Good friend of mine. I told him, don't leave them here. He left them all here. And he was broken into. And they took every one of them.
And share it with your neighbors, like I said earlier, share it with your neighbors, because if it's gonna happen to them, especially a fire, your house is real close, it can happen to you.
They're gonna go to a
So
nicer
this-
part
none
than
of
a
this
well
is-
and older part.
None of this is secret. Share it with your neighbors and make sure that their weeds are down and gone and their electric off, because you can do everything, but if they don't, and they turn victim,
How
what's
many
happening to
of you
them
turn-
is gonna be happening to you real quick.
Yeah,
How
we
many
have
of you turn
16
your water
break-ins.
off?
See,
In
16.
the summer, yeah.
You turn your water off? All of you?
We go away for the weekend or a week and I'll shut it off at the main house.
Turn your
We're
water
not
off.
coming home to it.
Is there a reason you leave it on?
We have a drip system.
You can have it, so you can have the inside shut off, go to Home Depot and get that little gadget. And you can still have your drip system. What are you dripping on? Cactuses? Believe me, I got it all. I got rose bushes, I got cactus, I got, what is this, bougainvilleas? And I go, I don't
They'll
want it.
survive
They
anything.
survive.
water,
They'll survive an air bomb.
It survives.
What about fruit trees though? They have to have water.
I got Lemon tree, I never water it.
Isn't that right?
It's gonna rain
I
in
go to the
July
mountains.
anyway.
It's gonna rain a lot.
The monsoon's
We
gonna.
get monsoons.
Yeah, we get monsoon in the summer, so.
We get some rain. All right, well, thank you all for
Yeah,
coming,
thank
and
you. This is great.
please, I hope you enjoyed the checklist. Take some back to friends if you want to share, and we'll keep some at the library, they'll probably take some, because it's all of our brains into one. Your last minute thing?
I'm going right after